For the past few years, fans have been incredibly worried about country singer Willie Nelson's health. He is apparently suffering from a pretty severe respiratory illness, but he isn't letting that stop him from continuing to perform. Join Facts First as we explore how Willie Nelson is battling a deadly lung condition. Die-hard fans of country music legend Willie Nelson have anxiously been awaiting health updates the past few years, as the singer has had to cancel numerous concerts as a result of failing health. At age 89, it's a wonder that the longtime smoker has made it this far. Though he did quit recently, he smoked marijuana throughout most of his life and was said to have chain-smoked cigarettes from a young age until quitting in his later adulthood. It seems Willie is suffering from emphysema, and this deadly lung condition will likely kill him sooner rather than later. Until his final moments, it appears Willie is intent on continuing to perform in any capacity he can. On top of recently releasing an album, Willie is currently touring and has every intention of playing as many shows as his decreasing physical condition allows. When the notion of retiring is brought up to the aging country singer, he claims he wouldn't know what to do with himself if he called it quits. Still, Willie is taking precautions with his upcoming tour dates, with the singer claiming he intends to give up performing indoor concerts indefinitely. Being diagnosed with emphysema isn't the only issue Willie has had to deal with recently. There's also the fact that the singer's older sister recently passed away, as well as the fact that he's apparently not getting along with his current wife. He's been married 4 times in total and been married to his 4th wife, Annie D'Angelo, since 1991. But the rumor is that Willie is still somewhat hung up on Dolly Parton. Willie Nelson's sister recently passed away. Willie Nelson's recently deceased sister was the late Bobby Nelson, who also counted herself among Willie's fellow musicians in the country music scene. She was a singer in her own right, but perhaps was best known for performing the piano in her younger brother's band. The death of 91-year-old Bobby certainly hit Willie hard, and trying to move on from the event is likely one of the reasons the singer is so anxious to keep up with his touring schedule despite his own failing health. Willie is still consuming marijuana, just not smoking it. Though Willie has always been synonymous with marijuana smoking, the singer has allegedly given up smoking altogether. But that doesn't mean he's no longer enjoying the drug's effects. Willie has simply found other means to consume it that doesn't require him to abuse his lungs. According to Willie's son Luke, Willie is consuming just as much THC as ever. Willie claims it's getting more and more difficult to breathe and that he's trying to take every course of action to prevent further damage to his lungs. He also claims he tries his best to exercise every day, even if it's just a little walk. Willie Nelson likes to pay for the day. Willie has always had a phrase he holds dear to his heart when it comes to his health, and that phrase is, "You've got to pay for the day." According to Willie, the little exercises he does are his way of paying for the day. When he's done, he relaxes by consuming some edible form of marijuana, whether it's candies or drops. He even has his own brand of smoke-free marijuana products called Willie's Remedy. Though he has given up smoking, there's no doubt he's just as adamant as ever about the positive effects of marijuana. Given that he's seemingly going to accomplish his goal of continuing to perform into his 90s, despite being a lifetime smoker and heavy drinker who's recently been diagnosed with a deadly lung condition, perhaps there's some truth into his insistence that THC heals. Before we tell you more about Willie, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Willie still has an unrequited crush on Dolly Parton. Though Willie continues to perform, despite his battle with a deadly lung condition, it seems the singer knows his time is nearly up. And it also appears one of his biggest goals is to perform on stage with Dolly Parton again. However, neither Dolly nor Willie's current wife are interested in this happening. It seems Dolly finds Willie too difficult to perform alongside, while Willie's current wife seems to think her husband has some ulterior motives in trying to get Dolly to perform with him as a last request. Willie's wife thinks her husband is lusting after Dolly, and the fact that her husband is dying isn't preventing her from being mad about it. It also appears Willie's wife has had enough of her husband's continued use of marijuana. It remains to be seen whether or not Willie and his wife will be able to make things work. Willie has allegedly been smoking since kindergarten. Willie claims he started smoking when he was in kindergarten. According to the singer, he would steal a dozen eggs from his family chickens and trade them for a pack of cigarettes at the store. This habit continued into the singer's adulthood and is arguably the #1 culprit responsible for his current health predicament. A woman claimed Willie could last for 9 hours in bed. Before Willie became an old man and had to deal with his recent health problems, the singer was reportedly so virile he could have 9-hour sex marathons on a whim. In the 1980s, a former lover infamously sued the singer after Willie had allegedly promised to marry her. While the context of the lawsuit wasn't of that much interest to the public, a story came out from the lawsuit that subsequently became the stuff of legends. It's still brought up today when the question of Willie's virility is brought up, though it has never been proven true. The story goes that after promising to marry the woman in question, Willie went on to have sex with her for 9 hours straight. It comes straight from the testimony of the woman herself, and the testimony also alleged that the singer performed an acrobatic stunt in the midst of the marathon. According to her testimony, halfway through his supposed 9-hour sex marathon, Willie did a backward somersault while still holding on to her. While there are certainly many who choose to believe this crazy story, others consider it unlikely, considering that Willie was in his 50s at the time. There's also the fact that Willie has always smoked. Still, it's hard to believe that a woman would have come up with such a ridiculous story out of the blue. Regardless of the truth, not much came out of the lawsuit, and the story has been largely forgotten. When pressed, Willie has refused to deny the story on the grounds that he thinks the story is too impressive for him not to take credit for. Willie Nelson wants to die on the road. Whether or not Willie was ever capable of engaging in 9-hour sex marathons remains to be proven, but there's no doubt the singer isn't capable of engaging in them now. At age 89, it appears Willie's health is likely only going to continue to get worse. He turned 89 on April 29, 2022, and that's also the day the country music legend released his latest album. That was called A Beautiful Time. At this point, it seems any album Willie releases may be his last, and fans continue to anxiously await health updates from the singer in the wake of his continued touring. At the rate he's going, it's likely Willie will die on the road, but it seems that's the way the singer wants it to be. Now it's time to hear from you. What's your favorite Willie Nelson song? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content. By the way, if you haven't joined Facts First as a member yet, be sure to look below this video and click the join button. By becoming a paid member of Facts First, you'll get access to exclusive video content that you won't find anywhere else. This includes some of our more mature content that isn't suitable for public audiences, which includes topics like Hollywood actresses who posed for Playboy and some of the steamiest moments in movie history. Plus, you can enjoy these videos completely ad-free. Our biggest fans will notice they also get badges next to their name when they leave comments on our videos. We pay special attention to comments from our members, and so do other viewers. So if you want exclusive content from Facts First or inside access to discussions with other community members, click the join button to get started for just $4.99. There are hours of members-only videos waiting for you, with new videos added every month. And we're actively working on bringing even more features to help fans like you connect with other members and get more of your favorite content. Just click join, and we'll see you inside the membership tab.